It's exactly 11:30 on the 24th of September, and this upload is with regard to matters that concern the Government of Ireland and their obligations that I'm awaiting to have fulfilled. Now, obstructions and perversions have been occurring, and the list of offences that I've experienced wouldn't even like just the level of offence that I've experienced is quite severe. So it brings into concern the safety. I have concerns about for those in society that might be experiencing anything similar to what I'm experiencing. There are individuals in society that have disturbed and disrupted, distorted, and disinformed, and they have informed themselves of information that isn't exactly accurate. Now, these individuals are known, and they are also guilty of bad publicity. The publicity has been of defamation regarding my character and reputation and my good name, and my good name has been tainted and tarnished by false reports and alterations to my records. So there's a very serious matter occurring that I'm very uncomfortable about with regard to the cybercrime that has occurred, the breaking and entering that has occurred, and the lack of protection as an obligation of the government to be fulfilled being unfulfilled. Now, as I've mentioned, I have a royal bloodline. I have a missing child. I have 2 farm holdings. My work has brought about recovery, and my work has assisted health and well-being. Now, we know about NEFIT, and that has been an issue of contention of vast proportion due to individuals that have been of creative intellectual theft from me. Now, these individuals have caused defamation since 2006 and offence between 2003 and 2005. And I'm still navigating, as I describe it, through a very serious circumstance of individuals that have bulldozed and barged into a personal space, a personal identity, a personal experience where they have disrespected and damaged and defamed. Now, as I've mentioned, there's been the abuse of faith, there's been the obnoxious contention of individuals that think they are in control of an individual that they don't know, that they have intruded upon, and that they owe a huge debt to. As I've said, my work has saved people's lives, and as I've also mentioned, these people have endangered other people's lives. So there's an issue with me tolerating while I'm healing from doctors' negligence. I've mentioned about the Kerry University Hospital having unlawfully detained me on behalf of culprits that were corrupting civil society prior to I giving birth in 2015. So there's been an issue of my medical care being withheld from me, and I'm currently living on my own. And as I've mentioned, there's obligations to my royal bloodline that are of proximity, privacy, property, and patronage, and so on and so forth, that are not being respected. So there's a very dangerous matter when this person is self-healing from doctors that are disrespecting their Hippocratic oath, that have been benefiting from NEFIT, and that have been insulting my rights. Now, I have a clean track record. I've assisted people's progress in their lives. I'll unabashedly say that my success rate in recovery has been good, and this is being damaged and jeopardized by individuals that can't honor their own identity or their own bloodlines that they come from. You know, we're all very unique. Our DNA is very unique. We all have our own individual traits and characteristics, and there are individuals that are suffering from a mentality that it's baffling. They have not been a part of my experience directly. They indirectly they have damaged and disrespected and defamed, But I've done the work, I've laid my foundations. 2018, there were new foundations for Ireland prepared for the legislation that came about as a consequence of my work in 2019. Now, all of that is being disrespected by people that aren't qualified to be, or within remit and not with rights to impose upon me. There's protocol and it's not being respected, and therefore there's a problem. So the people that are making problems and not working with solutions, the people that have disrespected civil society principles, the Constitution, the Declaration, etc., and so on and so forth, these people have endangered other lives. Now, I'm fully aware that there are individuals that have imposed upon my identity that are aspiring, I suppose is a nice way to describe it, but unfortunately they haven't got the good, the groundwork that would be expected. So they're in contempt, they're in breach, and they're in violation, and they're in debt to my good name. And they are not permitted to be in my proximity. They are not permitted to be in my properties in Ardfert and Kilflynn. And they are not permitted to be using my name or altering my name. My good name has been defamed. And they have incurred damages, harms and losses since 2006. And all we've seen since then, as I keep reiterating throughout this documentary, is problems, consequences and repercussions. And they are not meeting their debts. Now, there's a debt mountain. It's in Kilflynn. I own that farm holding property as of 2015. Now, any individuals that have been insulting my child and I that owe what they owe and that have disrespected my work with COVID in particular, and that have disrespected the principles of the Hippocratic Oath and the role of NEFIT and the role of the Kerry University Hospital unlawfully detaining me, assisting these individuals that are of displacement while trying to avoid their debts is hilarious. But these individuals have disturbed the peace and caused disharmony, and they have, as I've said, claimed to be of reform, and reform has not actually been authentic. So there are TDs elected up in Doileran that are fully aware of me, that have not acknowledged me, and that are inadvertently supporting the offences that I'm tolerating. Now, as I'm self-healing due to doctors disrespecting their Hippocratic Oath, the least that anyone would expect is common courtesy, basic common courtesy. Breaking into a person's personal space, or trespassing onto my farm holding, in particular in Ardfert. My house in Ardfert is subject to awful circumstances that are very unsafe. And any support being offered to that after the troubles that have been caused already in this community and beyond are a disservice to the Constitution. So I'm very surprised that anyone that is in a democratic state of mind would be in support of any more disrespect to the democracy. I'll just keep it very basic, very simple, and I hope I'm making my point very clear. So the authorities have an obligation. I don't know if they are aware, but they have been notified. Whether they've taken the time to do their homework, that's another issue. But this person is of great service to the state and recovery as well, I might add. So it would be really fantastic, as I've said, if the relevant bodies would locate my missing child, remove any trespassers on my farm holdings, and locate the individuals that have been evading and avoiding and increasing their debts that they owe me. It's very simple. There have been repercussions. There are people being a bit obnoxious with what they don't own, and there are cause and effect issues. So this upload is with regard to the liabilities in society, disrespecting civil society, and not fulfilling their positions, functions and duties, and being really rude where they've stepped over the line. So if everyone would be kind enough to be considerate and careful with regard to what has already happened, those suffering from imposter syndrome, identity issues, theft and fraud, etc., 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 I'd like to remind the relevant agencies and bodies of legislation of 1(9) as a consequence of my work. Now, anyone of creative intellectual theft is automatically jeopardising it. So there have been other more dangerous matters with regard to the treason I've tolerated, which has been failed, as I keep saying, as I've personally addressed it. I've experienced very serious offences, and that's an insult to my family. So those people that have been rude and crude, I'd appreciate the like-minded, sane and sober people of society that would appreciate recovery and progress to learn from the past and approach the issues and liabilities that are making society unsafe and unsavoury, living off my work and my identity and my wealth. As I've mentioned, €208, a little bit of an underpayment from the state for a property qualified educator, and my child missing from me is a little bit it's very dangerous that my child isn't in my care. So that's the update for today. Disturbers and disharmony continues due to liabilities that aren't behaving properly. It's a sad sign of the times.